We got a good one for you today. Um, this one is a little deep. It's really complex. So I'm going to try to take my time with it, and hopefully everyone gets something out of it. Hopefully everybody had a good day today. And so we're going to go ahead and talk about it. As I always say, your thoughts becomes your belief, and your belief becomes your reality. So I'm going to change the manifestation, and it's more or less you create your own reality based off of your beliefs. So with that being said, as always, like, subscribe, comment. We appreciate those that have been tuning in. We appreciate those that actually have left comments and so forth. Continue to support us. And all right, let's talk about it, Mark.
Well, I'm just going to say, hey, everybody, appreciate y'all for joining in, tuning in. Just echoing the same thing, basically, like Matt just said. Like, subscribe, and comment, and I appreciate it as well. All you guys that's out there that do interact and engage with this, with our podcast, because that's important to get feedback and just get different opinions other than just us. So appreciate you guys, and I'm ready to get it started. Like Matt said, this is a good one, so I'm gonna try to not bore y'all with any of my work stories, but I'm probably gonna have one or two anyway. So on that note, let's get it ready. Let's get started.
All right, so today we're going to talk about what is consciousness. I'm pretty sure everybody have heard some form of fashion of what consciousness is. And in my opinion, everyone has their spin on what it is. And everyone heard of the quote unquote conscious community. So just based off of what the definition is that I got out of Webster may be a little bit different from what the actual definition is to what everybody else believe it is. So you have scientists, you have psychologists that has their meaning and belief for what consciousness is. So I'm going to, give my opinion and how I perceive consciousness, what I think it is, and how I actually go about my life based off of my level of consciousness. So according to Webster, consciousness is the quality or state of being aware, especially of something within oneself. Okay, so I'm not going to break that down. However you receive it and perceive it is going to be, your belief of what consciousness is. Okay, so basically how I see it, consciousness is awareness. So when I say that I'm conscious, I'm referring to my level of awareness and my perception of how I see life, and basically how I operate on my daily actions as far as the way I move, if that makes sense. So some people, and I know I said this to you one time, and I don't know if you got offended, but some people get offended. Maybe it's the way I say it, I don't know. Mm-hmm. But I always use the term 3D. And I hate to say it, but everybody is at a certain point in their life based off of their conscious level. So for me, some of the things that I see may be different from what you see. It may be different from, somebody in the family, a friend, an employee, co-worker, or so forth. And some people get, in my opinion, offended by it. And it's nothing wrong with it, because based off of your consciousness is going to determine where you're at. And I want to talk about that a little bit later. But like I said, the way I perceive things, it may come off sometime as, the famous conspiracy theorist, or always negative. It's not that I'm negative. It's just that my level of awareness or consciousness allows me to see things from a different perspective, because that's where I'm at. So just like I have a book coming out called A Journey to Ascension. So that's basically, we all go through life. We go through different stages, and we have certain places that we have to be, meaning in our life, as far as awareness. So in that journey, you know, you're going to go through different stages, and in those stages is going to be a level of consciousness. So I don't want to get too far in what I want to talk about, because I want you to talk about how you perceive what consciousness is.
Right. Well, I mean, it's pretty much going to echo what you just said. Like, by definition, I mean, I think that's cut and dry. It's awareness. So for me personally, I view it the same way. I would say awareness and also obvious awareness. So what I mean by that is, when people make a conscious decision on something, you want to be able to make sure it's obvious or whatever it is you're doing. So let's say, for example, if I'm at work, and I know I use work all the time, but where I work at it's a industrial factory or plant, and it takes consciousness, awareness to do what you do, because if not, you can really get hurt, because it's welding machine. So there's one guy that's keep doing the same mistake over and over. So, you know, because they had me train the guy. So I'm patient because I've trained before numerous different jobs. So I know it's a process. You take your time, get them to understand it, let them learn it. But me personally, the way I always train people, I always train them to learn hands-on. I think it's easy to learn when you're in it and doing it yourself, as opposed to just talking to somebody. There's people wandering off and they say they listen, but they're not. So the point is, before I make a long drawn out story, so the guy kept what they call, the machine called faulting out, which means it messes up. Something goes wrong with the machine, causes maintenance to come and fix it. So the guy did the same thing like 5 times. So this other girl walks up, "Hey man, can't you pay attention to what's going on? Or you're not paying, why can't you pay attention? You gotta be conscious of what you're doing." So that's where I'm going with this, is I think it's on every aspect of life, whatever you're doing as far as work, like you said, as far as where you are in life, as far as being spiritual, religious, or whatever, or how you see the world, you got to be conscious. But even with work, I think it's everyday life. This guy was not being conscious. That's why I say awareness, but also obvious of what's going on, because the simple mistake he was making is called faulting, because you step in, which is it's like a, I want to say it's a light, but it's a motion sensor. So when you put your hand in there, it's supposed to detect if you're in there at the wrong time, and it faults the machine out, so it keep you from getting hurt. So the guy kept going in too soon, and it fault out the machine, and the alarm goes off. It's real loud and annoying. So that's why the girl was like, "Can't you pay attention? Are you not conscious of what's going on?" So that's when I told him, I said, "Look, man, always be conscious of what you do. Pay attention to your surroundings, and be aware and obvious of what you're doing." So that's what I'm going at again with this. What I deem consciousness is being aware, but also is the obvious of being aware. Like simple things, you should be aware of it, and be obvious of it. So that's one example. But like you said, I'm gonna go a little bit more in depth, a little bit more scenarios, but it's not gonna be work. It's gonna be something else next time.
Okay. All right. Now, see, I love how you broke that down, because you gave like the general sense, what I think most people think, not think, but that's what they believe, you know, consciousness is. It's just basically being aware of your surroundings, things that you're doing, which is good. That's still actually consciousness. But what I'm referring to is more so the consciousness as far as where you're at in your life and where you're going. Like I said, those levels of ascension. So you had a general sense as far as just being aware as far as what you're doing at work, so you don't hurt somebody. If you're driving, you're conscious and you're aware of your surroundings. But that's like one form of it. But the other form also is having a level of consciousness as far as the things that's going on in life, where you are in your life, and how you're going to get to the next place in your life. So I'm going to touch on that. So like I said, scientists have and psychologists have their belief of what consciousness is. So I'm going to go more into what psychologists look at as consciousness. So basically, like I said, it's awareness of internal and external existence. Okay, so your level of consciousness, we operate from coincide with the stages of development we reach. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but I talked about this before, and I think it was last week. And I kind of just threw it in there in one of the conversations that we was having, or something I was talking about, which is the stages of human life development. Right? We all have different stages that we go through, from the time we were born, from infants to a young teenager, to adolescent, into adults, mid-adult, into seniors. So in those levels, one of the stages of development, we have 7 actual development stages. Okay, so I'm going to read all 7. So you got the stages and you got the level of consciousness. So the first level of development is surviving. So that level of consciousness is survival. Basically controlling your environment, controlling yourself, controlling your mindset and so forth. And then you have development stage number 2, which is conformity. And that level of consciousness, which is relationship, family, friends, a sense of belonging, so forth. And then stage 3 is differentiality. Okay, that level of consciousness is self-esteem, security, self-esteem. Then you got transformation, which is level 4, and that level of consciousness is freedom. Development stage number 5 is self-actuation, which is internal cohesion, empathy, sympathy for yourself and other people. Then you have the developmental stage number 6, which is integrating, and that level of consciousness is making a difference. Collaboration with others and so forth. And then the 7th and final one is serving, is the 7th developmental stage, and that level of consciousness is service, compassion. So basically what I'm getting down to is, from the time we are born up until we're seniors, we go through those different developmental stages. And with those developmental stages come a level of consciousness. Now this is where it gets tricky, because depending on, you can be, say, at developmental stage number 7, which is what I said, serving and having compassion. If you're dealing with somebody, and I know you heard me say this term before, low vibrational people, you can come back down from that level of consciousness to a level 2. So depending on where you're at and the people you surround yourself with, the things that you listen to, all has something to do with your level of consciousness and going through those developmental stages. So in my opinion, that's why I always do my best to make sure that I'm doing things to make sure I'm ascending in those right developmental stages and going higher for each level of consciousness. And I think it was you that I was talking to, and I actually said this to Kiana too, when we had that talk on Father's Day, and she was like, "Oh, so we just not on your level." And I hate to say it, I was like, yeah, everybody's not on the same level, because if you don't ascend the way you're supposed to, you can be stuck at level 2, in that level of consciousness, where you should be at level 7, developmental stage number 7, in that level 7 of consciousness. So that's why it's important. Let's say, for example, if somebody is doing a whole bunch of drinking, eating the wrong foods, because I get into that a little bit later too, watching certain type of things, you're basically blocking yourself from going to that next level and reaching that next higher level of consciousness. So before we transcend out of here, we're supposed to ascend to each level of consciousness. So before we go, we truly experience we truly live the experience, human life experience. And the only way of doing that is keep going to the next higher level of consciousness. So I just, you talk about what I just said and how you feel about that.
Well, I mean, that's pretty deep, and it makes a lot of sense when you break it down.
Yeah.
because when you mentioned the relationship one, it had me sit and reflect. And I'm already in that point right now with myself where I realize with a bunch of relationships that I'm my consciousness of my effort, I'm kind of like repeating it over and over. So I haven't ascended to the next level on that, because I'm sitting there and I look at what I've been doing. So yeah, I think you do have to be aware, but this is a question more than a comment. Now, when you said that, I don't think it's a time frame, but obviously you don't want to wait too long in life, but usually what would be the average for you to ascend to the next level? Like, I mean, for some it might be boom, 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 right in a row, right? You just get it and you move on. So let's say like you on level 2, you take 10 years. You know what I mean? Does it really matter, or as long as you're doing it at some point in your life to ascend till you get to level 7? You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Yeah. Does it have to be? It shouldn't take that long, obviously. I mean, I get that. You shouldn't want to take too long, because that means you ain't getting it. So you're not being conscious of it. But I was just wondering, does it say, or is it anywhere where if you exceed too long, basically you're never going to get to that point, because basically you're being complacent in a sense, because you're not getting it to ascend to the next level?
That's a hell of a good question. And the tricky part about that is, like in human span life development, it does actually have a time frame. So I think in the early years, as we're growing up, there is a time frame that you should, if the parents are doing what they're supposed to be doing, then there is a time frame. Now, this is where it gets tricky, because once you get in your 20s and you actually gain the knowledge you're supposed to, and you actually went through each level the way you're supposed to, there really isn't a timetable as far as when you should be at that level. That's more so based on yourself. And that's what it talks about, as far as once you get to those higher level of consciousness, you become more self-aware. So you want to grow. So once you get to that point, that level of consciousness, you're like, okay, you know what? Well, I'm tired of hanging out with the same people. Like right now, you just said it. Like, you know, in relationships that you at a different point, but you at a certain point in your life to where you know you have to stop doing that, chasing your tail. So some people it may take, take offense to this. Some people may take to their 50. Some people they can find out when they're 20, 25. It just all depends on that individual and how they move through those stages of development. So that could be rapid, that could be slow, it could be fast. It just really depends on the individual. So there's no certain timetable as far as when you want to or when you do. But for me, I think that you should, by the time you hit 30s, you should be at least midway as far as the developmental stages. So you should be at a certain level of consciousness, at least by 30, and then by 40, and then by 50, where we're at, we should be at a higher level of consciousness to where we're not doing the same things we're doing before. And I'm pretty sure you see this. Like I was in a store the other day, and it was this old dude. He probably was about 55, 60. And I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with the way people dress and stuff, but he had on shorts that was long shorts. He had on Nikes. He had his hat turned to the side. He basically looked like somebody that was 20. So not judging, but just based off of the way he was dressing, to me, his level of consciousness was still low, because once you get to a certain age, like some people don't realize this, the way you dress, the way you talk, the people you hang around, the things you eat, all those things changes as you progress and ascend to the next higher level of consciousness, because your mind and your consciousness is no longer at that same place. So you shouldn't want to do the same things you did before. So that's just one example as far as, being at a certain level of consciousness. I don't know if that answered your question or not, but
no, it did. It did. Because I was sitting there thinking about stuff as you were saying that. But that to me just the same thing basically as, damn, see, I lost my train of thought. I was trying to say it before I forgot. But you growing, like you said, you pretty much progressing. So, you know that you're doing something that you did in your 20s You know, when you're 30 years old or 40 years old, you have no business doing that. So you're growing as a person, like you said, you let that go, and you realizing that you at an age where you should be doing different things. Now, on that note, if it's something you do, like in relationship, and you ascend to the next level, so that's just basically being more in a monogamous relationship and not out dating and trying to chase every little booty you see, or every girl, lady that looks fine, you want to be, trying to get on them, or get with them. So I get that. What was I going to ask you? And you said as far as your education level and how you articulate to people. I think that's true too, because I noticed today when I was at work, work again, guys. It was an older guy, and he's funny. I call him Cadillac because
Cadillac.
I always tell people Cadillac, because if you get a car and it would drive smooth, what car would it be? And mostly everybody said Cadillac. So I call him Cadillac because he's got to be about 70 years old, but he's real smooth and laid back. But listen to him talk. He be trying to talk like he's 20. And then one of my coworkers like, man, this old dude be trying to act like he's still young and trying to get with these young girls, and he needs to just be and act his age. And I looked and I was like, well, yeah, that's true. Or maybe he's just young at heart. So that's where I'm going with this, because I know you said you talk different, or your vocabulary is different. So what if your vocabulary, you still intelligent, you ascended, but you just young at heart, and you just have that in you? Is that a bad thing to still have that? It's not like you're trying to hold on because you don't want to let go. You're just a person that's just fun, that likes to enjoy life and make jokes. And some people may take that as you trying to act young because you're 70, you're supposed to be walking around talking, oh, I'm old, I need, he don't do that. He literally acts like, and I'm saying to myself, acting like he's 20, but it's not bad. I just look at him as he has a young spirit about him. And he feels like he's not that old. So he feels like, why should I act old? Because I am old. And that was his comeback to the people that be saying, because they be talking about him because he got an earring in his ear. I mean, he's a cool dude, but yeah, if you were to see him, you understand what I'm saying. I mean, he's educated. He's been through life. He's been in the military and everything, but he don't want to stay at home. Like, so why are you still working? You get retirement. He's like, I hate being in the house. I got to do something. I'm an active person. So I'm looking at him like, you could have picked any job with this, but that's just him. He said he's always been a person that do hands-on, and that's just fits him. So that's what I was saying to all of that conversation is, would that consider not ascending if you did, but in a sense, you still just doing certain things that you would say that you should have left alone a long time ago? Like I said, one, he's working, he's 70, but when he interacts, he's real outgoing and joking, and his slang sometimes is what people think that he's trying to act. So I'm thinking maybe he has grandkids and he's around his grandkids, so he pick up on their lingo. I mean, there's a lot of different things that I look at when I listen to him.
Well, I don't think that it's so much because you said your vocabulary changes. Yeah. That does have something to do with consciousness, but you can have somebody that don't have an extensive vocabulary. Like Kim, she has an extensive vocabulary. And this is nothing against her, but if this person have an extensive vocabulary, but they're not ascending or going through those different developmental stages, it's really not doing them any good, because you have a consciousness of education, but you don't have a consciousness of everything else. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. If that makes sense. So I don't want to get caught up on, like, if your vocabulary changes, then you're not ascending and you don't have a high level of consciousness. That's just more so, like I was saying, going through those different stages of development and those values, positive values that those stages have, that you should be working in those in that element. If that makes sense. And as far as with old boy, that could just be his personality. Like, he could be a very happy-go-going person. He jokes a lot. Now, the level of jokes that he have, in my opinion, I'm not saying my opinion is right, but how I perceive consciousness, then I don't believe that he is, because at some point you should get to like, you know what? I know I said those jokes before, but my level of consciousness just doesn't allow me to say those same things. And I'm gonna use this for an example. Like, I never really cursed at all, unless I was upset. And even when I was upset, sometimes I didn't. But when I'm talking to somebody, like the N-word.
Yeah.
You remember when we was young, we used to use it all the time, and Dad used to get on us.
Yeah.
But this is 100% true. I'm not just making this up. It's certain things that, like, the ego side of me want to say it, but who I am and where I'm at doesn't allow me to say it, if that makes sense. So because I'm ascended to this certain level of consciousness, it doesn't allow me to go back to where I was at before, because I'm no longer there. My consciousness is not at that point anymore. You know, and that's like you was talking about as far as, you know, chasing a whole different type of booties and stuff like that. Once you reach that level of consciousness, so you know what, I just want to settle down with one person. I just want to be with this one person. I want to experience life with them and ascend with them. Then you're on the right path as far as going to that next level of consciousness. When you get to that point, then you know you're on the right track. Because if you're still at 50 and you still want to go out there and chase a whole bunch of different tails and stuff like that, then you're stuck. Like I said, you probably at level 1, surviving. You're just basically out here surviving. So that takes me to another point too.
Yeah.
As far as with some people that deal with stress. And if you don't change your level of consciousness to where you allow yourself to not let certain things keep you in a certain energy, then you'll always find yourself trying to survive. Then you're not ascending and you're still stuck in a certain level of consciousness, which is level 1, you know, basically survival, you know, and that's not where you want to be.
Right.
So I just want to move on to something else. Now, there was something else that I found out in my research as far as 5 levels of human consciousness. Now, that's what I'm saying. There's like so many different layers of what consciousness is. So this is more or less what the scientists say consciousness is. So you got the 5 levels. You got the I am consciousness. And I know you heard that because you're posting stuff, you know, about I am. And basically when you say I am, you're saying that's who you are. And you're speaking that into existence. So that's level 1 of human consciousness. Level 2 is point of view. Level 3 is the unconscious beliefs, you know. Level 4 is the subconscious feelings. Level 5 is the conscious mind and thought. And then level 6 is the power to change your reality. So again, we should be going through those stages of consciousness throughout our life. And the 6, which is the highest level of human consciousness, you know, power to change your reality, and that's getting more so in the Christ consciousness or the God consciousness, to whereas, like when I say in my opening, you know, your thought becomes a belief, and your belief, you create your reality. That's more so what I'm referring to, is you're at that level of consciousness where you're saying, okay, I don't care what's going on around me. I don't care what's happening in the world. I'm at a place, I know who I am. I know what my point of view is. I know what my unconscious beliefs are. I know what my subconscious beliefs are. I know what my conscious mind and thought is. So now I'm at that level to where I can change my reality based off of all those things I just said.
Oh yeah,
just
so I'm not
talk about
you. I didn't know you was going to say something else. So
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I agree with it. I mean, I understand all of those. It makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I would say, like, for myself, yeah, I should be higher than I should be, according to all of that. But that's where I'm at now. So I guess it's better late than never to try to see where you at or self-evaluate yourself and realize your consciousness. And I think that's where the other one you were saying, for me, the conscious awareness I'm at is for one, like you were saying, just your surroundings. Certain people I know I just keep them at a distance and associate with them.
Right.
You know, like I say, relationships, I'm getting to that where I'm at that point where I'm conscious to know what I need to be doing. So I'm getting to a conscious level on where I should be at career-wise. So I think sometimes it takes a while, you know.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, some people get it right away. They just quick to be aware and they get what's going on and they open up and they wake up. You know, some it takes a while, but as long as you get it and you act on it, I think is the key. You know, because I think my biggest thing is anything. I hate it when somebody knows something and speak on it and then don't do it or act it out. So if it's people out there that say, "Oh, I'm conscious of what's going on," but they're not doing anything to show that, then it's like, what's the whole point of saying you know it? Like, act on it, do what you got to do. And again, it's a process. I know that, but if you're gonna be that aware and conscious, then it should reflect on who you are. You know. So I believe that, and I think that's something where, like I said, I'm on that journey right now. So this is good that you brought that up, because I really honestly, there was 5 rules I knew about a couple of them, but not all of them. Yeah. So that's good. That's really good to know, and I think this is something that a lot of people should do: self-evaluate or look at themselves and realize, am I conscious or not? Is it going to happen? Probably not, because some people probably have an ego where they feel like they don't have to, but I think it's something that they should do. I encourage and employ people to do that, because that's what I've been doing. Right. So I don't know if you get 50 for some reasons, the age where you feel like, oh, you got to start doing that. But for me, anyway, I'm speaking for myself. That I'm 50, I think it feel like you're half a century old. You've been through enough in life. You should be conscious. If you hadn't, now it's time to really be aware of those and just start acting. So that's where I'm at on that. But
okay, there's something else I want to add too. Like, I love how you was talking about how some people talk about it, but they don't walk it. And like, I don't know if you watch what you do, because you post it now. Like, a lot of stuff that you're posting, these people are considered to be part of the conscious community. Yeah. Like, I can't think of the dude name, but they just had like a conscious awards I think it was last week. So that's everybody in the conscious community is like an award show, like the Oscars and stuff like that. So everybody that's in that community, they had an award show. Yeah. So for me, I always say there's some people that has the form of being conscious, but they're not really conscious. And I say this, I'm not going to say the person's name, but they say that they're part of the conscious community, but then that person cuts like a sailor. Yeah. Now, this is where it's going to get tricky, because when you're conscious, you really shouldn't be dealing with certain type of people. And I'm not saying that you should just ostracize people and think that you're better than anybody else. Yeah. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like, if you know you're at a certain point and these people will keep bringing negative energy to you and it's causing you to struggle, then being conscious, you already know, okay, these are the things I shouldn't be doing. These are things this person shouldn't be doing. So why are you dealing with it? Right. Okay. But what I wanted to get into was the food. Now, for me, the reason why I'm more or less into alkaline eating, some people do it because of the GMO food, or you got all these people saying that the food they poison in, they're killing us and stuff like that. That's not why I'm doing it. The one reason why I did it is because of my blood pressure, and eating the way I was eating more alkaline was helping me bring my blood pressure down. But the other thing is, now this is what I was thinking about today, as far as like with meat. People don't realize that meat, whether it comes from a cow or fish or whatever, like everything is conscious, everything is living, everything has energy. So once those things are killed, their energy is dead. So if we're energy beings, why are you going to put something dead inside of you that's going to basically bring down your energy, opposed to eating food that's high vibrational, that has high energy, and that's a life? So food have a consciousness too. So if you're eating dead animals, that's a low consciousness. You know, it's a low vibration. So how are you claiming, or have a person claiming that they're a high vibrational person or a conscious person, but they eat meat? Okay, that right there don't make sense. You can't say you conscious and you eat meat.
Right.
It don't add up, because again, if you're conscious, you know that is not high energy, it's not high vibrational, it's dead. You're supposed to be alive. You want to be high vibration. So why are you putting low vibration in you and something that's dead? So that's like always a telltale sign for me. So, and again, a lot of that stuff causes people to be addicted to it, so it's hard to get away from it. But if you're truly conscious and you're going through those stages and sending the way you're supposed to, you have to let the ego go and say, well, I don't care how good it tastes, or I've been doing this for X amount of years. If you're truly ascending and you have that high level of consciousness, then you shouldn't be messing with it. But this is where the tricky part comes in also, is because in the Bible it talks about, you know, how Jesus was a fisherman, and how, you know, he said that there's nothing that you can't eat, because if it's blessed by me, then it's not defiled.
Right.
So I'm not going to get into the religion thing again, but it's kind of contradictive, you know, based off of science and just what it actually is. So I'm just curious what your thought is when it comes to food and stuff.
Well, that's good, because I've been posting a lot on that for the personal training. And I think it was Dr. Sebi, even though he had somebody post his a lot of his old videos, and he was talking about alkaline and how we should be eating doing alkalines the natural, healthy way of eating. So I've been doing my research, and it's funny because it was a brother that I posted. I don't know if they're Caribbean or Jamaican or something, but I know they are islanders, and they said exactly, not word for word, but they said the same thing you were saying about meat. He pretty much, different the way he said it is, once you kill it, like you said, you're killing it, it's dead. So you're not getting no nutrients from it because it's already dead. So you're not preserving it. It's not preserved, it's preserved, but it's not natural the way it should be, which is alive. And he pretty much said the same thing you just said. If it's not alive, you putting dead stuff in your body, and there's nothing natural. He said, how can you eat that and say that that's good for you? He was like, that don't make sense to me, how people eat dead meat, dead animals, and think that that's healthy. And, you know, so I'm on that point. Like I said, I'm being honest, being a trainer, I had to educate myself more because I'm telling people to eat better. So I have to make sure that I'm on my P's and Q's when I tell, you know, all my clients that. So I'm on it myself. I'm gonna sit here. I ain't gonna pretend that I'm different. I eat meat, but it's something that I'm, like I said, I'm educating myself on. Right. And now I'm learning that, I'm slowly weeding my way off of it. I'm not gonna sit here and be like, yeah, I'm getting off meat, and I'm gonna just do alkaline, because then I'm lying and I'm giving out false, you know, things that I'm saying. So all I'm telling people, and I tell my clients, is you need to start transitioning that way, because there's nothing good coming out of it. And I think that's it in a nutshell. Is if you're killing it and you're taking away all that natural energy, like you said, or all the natural organic of that animal, then you're not eating healthy. So veggies, watermelon is something I've been eating a lot. Okay. But
I love me some watermelon. I'll be tearing it up.
Too. But see, you gotta be careful with that. And I don't want to get all into the health thing right now. Yeah. Because there's a lot of those seedless watermelons out there. Yeah. And people are thinking that that's better, but actually it's not. That's the other thing the guy touched on. And he said, how are you buying all this fruit and stuff with no seeds and think that's healthy? Right. You know, he said that's not healthy. You have to eat the seeds is the part that grows, that help it grow
Mm-hmm.
out of the earth. So if you don't have a seed, then it's not real, it's not normal, it's not natural.
Right.
So just to get on that, to get off the subject without beating a dead horse, yeah, it's food is very important. You know, you put it perfectly. So I can't really put it any other better way. But people need to really educate themselves, what I would say, and understand that good as it tastes, myself included, that's going to be the challenge, because we've been programmed or conditioned to think that, oh, meat is what we need, we can't survive without it. And that's the problem too, is there's so much false information out there where people feel like they have to eat meat. If they don't, they don't survive. And I'm like, no, if you research, you know that the meat is not going to keep, you know, if you don't eat meat, you won't die. And some people really fakes like that. So yeah, that's definitely important. Alkaline, that's something I'm, like I said, I'm educating myself. So
yeah. So I just want to touch on these points and you know, then call it a night. Yeah. But this is important for me because this goes back to the whole energy and vibration thing.
Right.
As far as like the human body, we operate from 62 to 72 hertz. So that's basically being alive. So anything lower than that, once you get below 62, then that's when you're susceptible to disease and illnesses and stuff like that. So if you, not you, but when a person gets sick and they find themselves getting sick, that is because their frequency, their vibration has decreased below 62 hertz. So again, that has something to do with your level of consciousness too. So you can't operate at a high level of consciousness if your vibration is low, because like getting up to the God or Christ consciousness or universal consciousness, you have to be at a high vibration. And the only way of being at a high vibration is you have to be doing things and putting yourself in a space to operate in a high vibration to be at that high level of consciousness. So, I mean, that's another important thing that people really need to know. And I talk about that in my book as far as, you know, the different tools that you can use on your level of ascension. So that's why y'all need to check it out. Journey to Ascension. It will be out on Amazon and other multiple platforms. Journey to Ascension will be out either before the end of August or mid-August. But anyway, so I talk about that in the book, you know, the different tools and stuff that you can use. There's so many things that we can use to raise our level of vibration, frequency, and our consciousness, because that's what's going to help us ascend and hopefully not have to come back. But that's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
So with that being said, we thank everybody for watching. Again, like, subscribe, comment, and I enjoyed this conversation. It will be posted again Wednesday, so either tomorrow or Friday. And beautiful people, your thoughts becomes your belief, and your beliefs becomes your reality.
Yes, sir. And as I always say, you know, STS, guys, and I mean that across the board, not just for my personal training aspect, but in life in general. Stay focused, trust your process, and stay consistent. You'll reach whatever it is you're trying to reach in life. As long as you focus on that, it's going to be something that you got to be owning it and trust it. That's why STS, guys. The meaning's right there. I ain't got to say nothing else. STS. And that's it. Appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe, and comment.
Peace.
And we out.
Life, look no further. Everybody, cause it's day and night.